Okay, so we're going to start now. So tell me, so basically for those of you who are watching, we couldn't get Sophie online. She is with me on the phone, and if for some reason she manages to at any point get onto this recording, then she will pop up and you'll be able to see her on Blab but not on Facebook. But hopefully you can see her, so you can hear her, I should say. So Sophie, you're familiar with all the tapping points, so you'll be able to just tap along, and when I change a sentence, you'll just go to the next point. But if you're not sure at any point, just ask me, and then we can do it like that, because I have worked with people on the phone as well. So maybe what you would you be willing to say a little bit about the reason you wanted to have the tapping? So you mentioned sleep, and you mentioned waking up in the night suddenly, and you felt like it was connected to menopause symptoms. Can you say a little bit more about that?
Yeah. Yes, it's been going on for quite a few years now, and I've connected it with menopause symptoms because basically I've done a lot of reading around it, and that seems to be quite a common feature. So what happens is I wake very suddenly after a few hours sleep, or it's a different quality of waking to just waking into the loo and then coming back and going back to sleep. It's a kind of a jolt. I wake up, and then after a few seconds, this kind of adrenaline rush kicks in, and I've noticed that I think it's because of it, and I start thinking, and then of course my thinking goes like bonkers, and I start thinking of all the things I haven't done, and giving myself a hard time, and and everything just starts to feel like kind of doom and gloom. And this is kind of in the middle of the night, and then it usually lasts for, sometimes I can kind of eventually get myself back to sleep, but it's almost like my hands are very shaky, and then I get this kind of real clenching in my upper bowels, and I often have to just rush to the loo about 4 or 5 times and empty my bowels. And then sometimes when my bowels are kind of completely empty, then I can get back to sleep. And then in the morning, I ring up and think, crikey, what were all those thoughts about? It seems to be, so that's really how it is.
Okay. And is this every night or just sometimes?
It's every night.
Okay. And do you know what was going on for you just before it started happening?
Well, I noticed, because I went straight from breastfeeding my second child, who's now 13, so that was 11 years ago. And then it kind of started happening after that. And then my period started going a bit funny, and that's when I went into kind of this perimenopausal period. And it happened like that.
Okay. So what we're going to do for the purpose of this call, I mean, there are kind of probably more questions around that, but I think for today, what we're going to do is focus on the actual symptoms. But I think what would be really good for you is so for those of you watching and listening, Sophie's just attended our EFT training, so you'll be familiar with how to tackle things, and I think it would be really interesting to go and explore a little bit around the relationship around the breastfeeding ending, periods ending, and all of that. But I think that's probably not for this kind of like for today, but that's something that you could possibly do. So today, what I think would be really good to do is just if you can describe the symptoms. Hi Lisa. Lisa's just joined us. She's watching here. Thank you for joining us. So if you can describe the the kind of sensations that you get I know you mentioned after a few seconds of waking up, the adrenaline kicks in. I'm just going to ask Lisa. Can you hear Sophie when she talks? Say something, Sophie, just so that she can.
Oh, hi. Yes, it's me.
Okay.
Hello, Lisa.
Okay.
Hi.
I think she's sending some likes there, so that's all good. So she can.
Great.
Yeah, because just to say, Lisa, that we couldn't get Sophie on screen on Blab. You know all the technical difficulties, what it's like. So she's on the phone. Yes, perfect. Thanks, Lisa. So that's why we're doing it like this today. So I'm back to you, Sophie, now.
Okay, great.
So you wake up and then suddenly the adrenaline kicks in, and if you can describe the sensations in that initial moment of what it feels like in a little bit more detail.
So it's a jolt awake. It's like a surprise in a way. Mm-hmm. And then there's a few seconds, 3 or 4 seconds of peace, and then the adrenaline just starts, and it feels like I've got this sort of slight, that I'm a bit wired, and that there's sort of a bit zingy in my body. Particularly I suppose my hands get a bit shaky. And then almost immediately I suppose it's my smaller intestine, and the muscles, all those muscles start, just like clench up completely. And if I put my hand on my smaller intestine and if I sort of poke it around, I can feel that it's completely and utterly hard, really almost like, I don't know, it's very hard. And now I'm feeling it now, and it's just completely soft. So this kind of grips. It's like a sort of gripping feeling.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's break this down to the jolt, and because that's the first thing that happens. It's the jolt awake, and when you think about that jolt awake right now, can you feel any? Are there any emotions or anything around that?
Yeah, I think it's surprise with mixed in, oh no, not again, sort of resigned and here we go sort of feeling. Okay. And disappointment, because, I mean, every night for, I suppose, 11 years, I thought, right, it's going to be different tonight, and I've done so many different things, and I've done so many, I've tried so many different things with herbs and HRT and hormone replacement and you name it, I've done it. Acupuncture, homeopathy. So yeah, I suppose the overwhelming feeling about it is disappointment. And yeah, disappointment and resignation. Okay. Oh no, not again.
And on a scale of 0 to 10, that strength of disappointment right now, what number would you give that?
8.
And resignation?
Yeah, same, 8.
Okay. And where can you feel those in your body?
I suppose it's in my kind of chest, that sort of sighing feeling. And my head as well, sort of a heaviness all over.
Okay, so let's start with doing a little bit of tapping now. For those of you watching who haven't done tapping before, it's also called EFT, Emotional Freedom Techniques, and what we're going to do is simply tap on various parts of the body and say different words, which Sophie is going to repeat after me, and you're welcome to repeat after me as well. All I ask is that if you choose to join in, that you take responsibility for your own well-being. So, and Sophie, if there's anything that I say that you don't like, just let me know and we can change it.
Okay, thanks.
With tapping on the side of your hand and just repeating after me. Even though
I
feel disappointed
and resigned
about this situation. Here we go again. It's been like this for 11 years. And I've tried everything. And I deeply and completely accept myself. Even though I feel disappointed and resigned. I deeply and completely accept myself. Even though I feel disappointed and resigned. I deeply and completely accept myself. So we're going to tap through the points, starting with the top of the head. So every time I change words, you just change point. And if you can't remember or get stuck, just let me know.
Mm-hmm.
So top of the head, sighing in my chest. And beginning of the eyebrow, heaviness in my head. Side of the eye, disappointment. Resignation. Every night. Here we go again. It's been going on for so long. And I can feel it in my chest. And heaviness in my head. Disappointment. Resignation. About this situation. Waking up at night. Every night. It's the same story. Disappointment. And now if you put your hands in the center of your chest or heart chakra and say the word transform and take a deep breath.
Transform.
So when you now tune into your body and your feelings, on a scale of 0 to 10, the level of disappointment right now.
Yeah, 5.
5, great. Any thoughts or anything in mind?
What came up was that I realised that underneath that almost is like fear. Fear and that it's never going to end. That I have to spend the rest of my life in this situation. That nobody can help me, and a bit of sadness as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I sort of feel a bit like lost, lonely, because it's the middle of the night, no one can help me. What am I going to do?
Great, thank you. So we'll do a round of tapping on those feelings, if that's okay. So again, tapping on the side of your hand and say, even though I noticed some fear arising. Is it ever going to end? What if I have to spend the rest of my life? In this situation? What if nobody could help me?
What if nobody can help me?
And I've got this sadness.
And I've got this sadness.
And it feels lost and lonely.
And it feels lost and lonely.
What am I going to do?
What am I going to do?
And I deeply and completely accept myself.
Accept myself.
Even though I've got this fear about the constant waking in the night.
About the constant waking in the night.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
Accept myself.
Even though I've got this constant fear.
I've got this fear
about constantly waking up in the night. I deeply and completely accept all parts of myself. Tapping through the points starting with the top of the head. Fear. It's never going to end. What if I need to spend the rest of my life in this situation? Nobody can help me. And in the middle of the night, it feels sad. Lost and lonely. What am I going to do? Where do you feel the fear in your body?
Heart.
Fear in my
Chakra.
heart.
Here in my heart.
And where else?
Bowels. Sort of upper bowels.
Okay.
Sort of solar plexus.
Okay. Fear in my upper bowels.
And
solar plexus.
And
in my heart. Fear that it's never going to end.
Oh, my throat as well.
And in my throat. All this fear. In my throat. In my heart.
In my heart.
In my solar plexus.
In my
bowel. All this fear. It's never going to end. What if I need to spend the rest of my life like this? Nobody can help me. And that feeling of lost and lonely.
I've got a feeling of lost and lonely.
In the middle of the night. Fear. In my body. When I think about waking up in the night. And how long it's gone on for. All this fear.
What was that? What was that one?
All this fear. Okay, and put your hands in the centre of your chest or heart chakra. Say transform and take a deep breath.
Transform.
So, what's there now?
A bit in my throat still. And kind of like a sort of it's not there constantly, but sort of like almost like a shock in my heart chakra, like sort of an intake of breath almost when I think about it, and yeah. And there's still a bit of kind of heaviness in my solar plexus, just a tiny bit.
So there's the feeling in. So there's a little bit of feeling in your throat left, and there's shock in your heart chakra. So which of these is the strongest right now? The throat, the shock in the heart chakra, or the heaviness in the solar plexus? Or both the same?
Right now, yeah, right now actually that's gone. Throat a little bit, yeah.
And the shock?
It's sort of like comes in slight waves.
Okay.
Yeah, still there, just very slightly, like 3 all often.
Okay. And the heaviness in your solar plexus?
Yeah, again, 3.
3. Okay. And is that 3 for the throat as well, or something else?
4 for the throat.
And is it still fear in your throat?
Yeah, it's kind of just like a constriction feeling.
Okay. Thank you.
I think it's more, a bit of anger actually.
Okay. Okay. Are you okay to do another round?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So tapping on the side of your hand, even though I have this constriction and anger in my throat
and
shock in my heart chakra
stuff in my heart chakra.
that comes in waves,
It comes in waves.
and heaviness in my solar plexus,
And heaviness in my solar plexus.
I deeply and completely accept myself. Even though I have this anger and constriction in my throat, I deeply and completely accept myself. Excuse me. Even though I have this anger and constriction in my throat, I deeply and completely accept myself. So tapping through the points, and it's really interesting. My throat feels really funny. I'm just drinking some water now because okay, I hope it's not catching. There you go. Anger in my throat. Constriction in my throat. Shock in my heart chakra. Sharp intake of breath. Comes in waves. Heaviness in my solar plexus. Anger in my throat. Constriction in my throat. Heaviness in my solar plexus. Shock in my heart chakra. That comes in waves. Sharp intake of breath. Heaviness in my solar plexus. Anger in my throat. And constriction. Okay, put your hands in the centre of your chest, say transform and take a deep breath.
transform.
So how are you doing?
Yeah, it feels kind of much more empty.
Lisa is saying, great work, you two. I really hope it helps your sleep improve, Sophie. I've got to go now. Okay, Lisa. Thank you for watching, and thank you for that.
That's nice.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Aww.
So, how are you doing?
Yeah, good. I think of what you said actually about, I mean, there's funny things that are coming up, like things like that. It's not going to work. Why should this work? Nothing else has. And then what you said at the beginning about a connection with what was going on. You know, I sort of have a feeling that it's got something to do also with my son and sleeping, and because he used to wake every 2 hours, and it's almost like a fear that he's that I've got to check that he's still alive, you know. I think there's some connection there, and you know, real anxiety. What if, you know? Yeah, these shocks.
Yeah,
So that's something to look into.
Definitely. A couple of other things came to mind as you were talking, but I didn't know whether to mention them. But well, one thing is, like, how was your the birth with your son? I mean, you don't have to go into detail, but was there anything unusual?
No, the birth, I mean, it was a home birth with independent midwives, and hang on a minute. And it was in water, so sort of seemingly idyllic, but actually I'm just thinking now, he had the cord wrapped around his chest, and I actually, you know, the midwife saw it and whipped it over. I mean, I was lucky enough, my husband was actually videoing it, so I've seen the video, and he was a bit sort of blue and kind of, you know, constricted in his chest. And he kind of, I think he was, you know, I think he was very frightened, actually, and he used to, you know, as I say, he used to wake every 2 hours for a long time, and sleep has really not been great for him. It's only really, he's 13 now, and it's only really been in the last couple of years that he's slept through the night, and he still likes me to go to sleep with him. He doesn't like to go to sleep on his own. That's bringing up some sadness. Yeah.
You're doing really well, so just be tapping. Just tapping now. You're doing really, really well.
Yeah.
And just tap through the points as you're feeling that sadness. Just tapping through the points as you're feeling that sadness. All that sadness.
Sadness.
And you can just allow it to be there. I'll say the words for you. All that sadness. When I think about that, all that sadness.
Yeah, I think about, like, he could have died.
He could have died. All that sadness. All that sadness that I've been storing inside my body for all these years. He could have died. All this sadness. Open to the possibility of allowing it to be there so that I can release it and let it go. All that sadness. So just keep tapping and tell me what's coming up for you now.
Well, the sadness is kind of definitely going. There's the throat, constriction in my throat. And it's like a sort of depression feeling in my solar plexus, like that kind of heaviness, black.
Okay.
Yeah, and a kind of just a deep, almost like a heaviness as though it actually happened.
Okay, so tapping side of the hand now, and we've got a couple of people joined, so thank you. We're just tapping with Sophie at the moment, so you're welcome to join us. Even though I've got this constriction in my throat. And depression. In my solar plexus. I deeply and completely. Accept myself. Even though I have this constriction in my throat. And black depression in my solar plexus. And deep heaviness. As if it happened.
As though it happened.
I deeply and completely. Accept myself. So tapping through the points now, starting with the top of the head. Constriction in my throat. Black depression. In my solar plexus. Deep heaviness. As if it happened. Is that the right wording? Yeah. Constriction in my throat. Black depression. In my solar plexus. Deep heaviness. As if it actually happened. Constriction in my throat. Deep heaviness. Black depression. In my solar plexus. Okay, so put your hands in the centre of your chest, say transform, and take a deep breath.
Transform.
So how are you doing?
Yeah, a bit of burping.
That's always good.
Yeah, oh God, exactly. Yeah, and as I was going through that, I was actually, what happened sort of a few weeks after I gave birth to William was that a friend of mine who I've just been with for the weekend, she was pregnant too, and her baby died with the cord wrapped around his neck in the womb just before she was about to deliver him. So I think I've kind of taken on that heaviness as well, that sadness and that kind of that shock around that. Yeah, and I've kind of connected it, somehow got it muddled up with my own son, or you know, I don't know if this, I'm just saying this if it comes out, but almost like a kind of guilt that I've got a baby and she hasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
So it really feels like we're getting to the key of this.
Mm.
So what I would suggest, we won't have time to do this today now, but I'm happy to do this for you if you wanted to join me on another broadcast, or you could do it outside of this environment. Is to definitely do a session on the birth of your son, and then on hearing the knowledge of what happened to your friend's pregnancy, and really releasing all the charge on both of those, and the beliefs that you've created, because the guilt that's unfolded that, because it's almost like it's like every night maybe you're repeating something that it's like you haven't been able to somehow get it out of your system, so it's like almost like a stuck record.
Yeah, very much.
And it's like you're trying to release it and you get stuck, and then it's like the shock again and the shock again, and it's this repeating pattern.
Yeah, very much.
So how are you doing? How are you doing right now?
Yeah, it's like I think this is sort of almost like a brilliant tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
And I can really see a way now to really help. And I as you were talking then, I was thinking it's probably actually even further back than that. All this.
Yes.
There's a lot of surrounding issues, but actually, I think it's actually a lot deeper, because I have kind of had these depression feelings and shock for quite a long, way before then as well. So I think I'm really kind of beginning to get somewhere with. It's a bit like being a detective, isn't it?
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you something. When you told me about the sharp intakes of breath, and you said something else about that. Where was it? I don't know. But anyway, the sharp intakes of breath, I immediately thought, is this about your own being born birth? And that was like my first thing. Because you know that when a baby is born, like probably in the times when we were being born, people weren't so aware, although they're not really aware now either, is that if you cut the cord immediately, the baby has to take a gasp of intake of that first breath, whereas if you let the cord continue pulsating until all the blood has flown into the baby, and then the baby takes their own first breath when they're ready, then it's a much more relaxed first breath for the baby. But if you cut it and then they have to go like that, it can often kind of like, that can be a shock for the baby, and it can then reverberate in one's life. So when you said that was like my first thought, but I thought, oh, am I going to say it? But here I am, I've said it now. So
yeah, no, I completely get that. I mean, I don't know, my mum was amazing. She had an NCT home birth at a time when everybody else was doing Dr. Spock.
Wow, amazing.
So that was great. But I don't know about the cord, because they may not have known that then, in 1962. So yeah, that could be very well what it is. And I had a lot of separation anxiety and so on. I wonder whether that is tied in too.
Wow, yeah, it could well be.
Just like, yeah.
So
that's brilliant, Tamara.
Oh, you're so welcome. So let's do a kind of completion round to get you in a good space, so that you can we can kind of like wrap this up a bit, so that you can kind of go out into your day feeling not, because we've kind of like pulled things apart a bit, and now if we can just put it together. So if there was a quality that you would like to feel more of right now, given everything that we've done, and to help you kind of like feel good in the rest of your day, what quality would that be?
I think complete joy in the day.
Wonderful. I like the sound of that. Great. Okay, so if you put your hands in the centre of your chest, so this is a slightly different tapping method. I can't remember if you've done it before, so I will talk you through it. So hands in the centre of your chest, just not tapping, and say, I want to feel complete joy.
I want to feel complete joy.
And take a deep breath. I want to feel complete joy.
I want to feel complete joy.
And take a deep breath. I want to feel complete joy in every cell of my body.
I want to feel complete joy in every cell of my body.
And take a deep breath. And then go to the top of your head and say, I want to feel complete joy.
I want to feel complete joy.
And take a deep breath. And now go to the centre, the third eye. It's kind of like just in the centre of your eyebrows, but just above. So just say again, I want to feel complete joy.
I want to feel complete joy.
And take another deep breath. And now go to the usual point, the beginning of the eyebrow. I want to feel that joy in every cell of my body.
I want to feel that joy in every cell of my body.
And take a deep breath. And side of the eye. And I want to feel that complete joy in every fibre of my being.
And I want to feel that complete joy in every fibre of my being.
And take another deep breath. And under the eye. And if you were able to feel that complete joy in your body right now, where would you feel it?
In my solar plexus.
In my solar plexus. And how would that feel?
It would be like yellow, warm sun glowing.
I'm open to the possibility.
I'm open to the possibility.
Of feeling warm yellow sun glowing.
Of feeling warm yellow sun glowing.
In my solar plexus.
In my solar plexus.
And take a deep breath.
Oh, and in my throat as well, actually.
And in my throat, great. Moving to your under the nose point. And if you were able to truly feel that warm yellow sun glowing in your solar plexus and throat, what emotion would that feel like?
Happy.
Happy.
Light.
Light.
Peaceful.
Wonderful. So on the chin point, say, I'm open to the possibility.
I'm open to the possibility.
Of feeling that happy, light, peaceful feeling.
Of feeling that happy, light, peaceful feeling.
Right now.
Right now.
And take a deep breath. And moving to your collarbone point. Infusing that happy, light, peaceful feeling.
What did you say at very first?
Infusing.
Infusing.
Yeah.
Infusing that happy, light, joyful feeling.
Into every cell of my body.
Into every cell of my body.
And take a deep breath. And moving on to the thumb point, which is on the corner of the nail. I'm just showing people here. I'm open to the possibility.
I'm open to the possibility
Of infusing that happy, light, joyful feeling.
Of infusing that happy, light, joyful feeling
Into the room where I am.
Into the room where I am.
And my whole home.
And my whole home.
And my family.
And my family.
Particularly my son, particularly my younger son.
Particularly my younger son.
And take a deep breath. And moving to your first finger point, I'm open to the possibility.
I'm open to the possibility.
Of infusing that feeling.
Of infusing that feeling.
Of happy, light joy.
That happy, light joy.
Into the rest of my day.
Into the rest of my day.
And the rest of my week.
And the rest of my week.
And take a deep breath. And moving on to the middle finger, radiating that feeling.
Radiating that feeling.
Of happy, peaceful and light.
Of happy, peaceful and light.
Into the rest of the month.
Into the rest of the month.
The rest of the year.
The rest of the year.
And the rest of my life.
And the rest of my life.
And take a deep breath. And moving to the ring finger, infusing that feeling.
Infusing that feeling.
Into everything I do.
Into everything I do.
And everything I am.
And everything I am.
Into my work.
Into my work.
Into being a mother.
Into being a mother.
Into being a wife.
Into being a wife.
And all my other roles.
And all my other roles.
And take a deep breath. And moving on to your little finger, radiating that feeling.
Radiating that feeling.
Out into the universe.
Out into the universe.
And take a deep breath. And side of the hand, radiating that feeling.
Radiating that feeling.
Into every cell.
Into every cell.
Every atom.
Every atom.
And every molecule of my being.
And every molecule of my being.
And put your hands in the centre of your chest, say transform and take a deep breath.
Transform.
How are you doing?
Yeah, great.
Good.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome. I've got one more thing that I'd like to do, but I don't know how you are for time.
Yeah, fine.
Great. Okay, good. So, first of all, I don't know if the people who are watching are still on. Vicky, Daniela, are you still there? If you've got any questions or feedback, you can type it in now. But while you're thinking about doing that or not, I have got, okay, you can't see these, but I'm going to show the people who are watching. I've got my favourite cards here. They are called Crazy Sexy Love Notes. And I'm going to intuitively pick one for you, Sophie.
So thank you.
Closing my eyes and finding the right card for you. And, it's a bit sticky, this one, but this is the one. Okay. Oh, lovely. It says wishes fulfilled. Wishes fulfilled. And I'm just going to read what it says on the back. Your wishes have been germinating. They're deeply planted in the soil of the loving universe. And fulfillment is here or just around the corner. But faith is required. When we put ourselves out there, it's easy to get deflated if what we want doesn't materialize right away. Have confidence. You are more than capable of manifesting your deepest desires. It's all happening, dear one. So, that is your card. And if you like, I can post it to you, and you can have that to remember as my little thank you to you for coming on my broadcast.
Oh, that's so kind of you. Thank you.
That's okay. Thank you so much for being here. And yeah, if you want to continue, you know where to find me. But I know you know lots of other people as well. So, so thank you again. And I really wish you a very good night's sleep.
Oh, thank you, and thanks to everybody else who is watching.
Yeah. Okay. Take care.
Great. Yeah, thank you, Tamara. Lots of love.
Lots of love. Bye.
Bye.